Rebel fighters in Libya have blamed a lack of ammunition and a lack of NATO support for their failure to advance towards the capital, Tripoli. It comes just days after Libya reportedly intercepted 2 vessels with Belgian weapons intended for the rebels. Well, for more about what's going on there, let's now cross live to Tripoli and Dr. Franklin Lamb. He's a director of Americans Concerned for Middle East Peace. Thanks very much indeed for joining us there live in Tripoli. Now, from what you've seen on your visit there, is the NATO bombing helping the situation in Libya or hindering it?
No. I think it's certainly injuring it, because besides the fear that we're seeing here among the young people and the children, I just came from a meeting of the Children's Foundation here no longer than half an hour ago, and the numbers of traumas for the children and the fears and the medical attention needed for some and the psychological consultation, a dramatic uprise in that, and that's just to do with the children. But no, the bombing needlessly puts the population on edge. It increases anxiety and anger. If NATO is trying to weaken the regime, it seems to me that, as history teaches us, when you bomb a population, often they unite behind the government of the day, and rather than breaking the connection between the people and the leadership, it seems to increase it. So I can see of no value or virtue whatsoever about the NATO bombing that's been happening here since we've arrived.
Well, NATO says it's not bombing the population, it's bombing military targets. From your visit, what you've seen there so far, is that true?
Yes. No, that's not true, and I can give you 5 examples. One is the Down Syndrome Children's Center, which was completely demolished by bombs. That serves over 500,000 children around this country. Their headquarters was bombed, as you know. Secondly, as you know, the killing of 11 sheikhs up in Breda who were on a peace mission. They were bombed. The microbus that was bombed 2 weeks ago that killed 9 people. No. They are hitting civilians. We had a report this afternoon from a fellow from Human Rights Watch who estimated that for every 1 military person that was supposedly a casualty, there were 10 civilians. Well, I can't prove that at the moment.
Okay, let me just ask you on the civilian matter. A Libyan family who lost 5 relatives in a NATO airstrike, which the alliance admitted was a mistake. They are now taking legal action over those deaths. Now, I understand that you've met other victims' families. What did they tell you? Are they going to try and follow suit now?
Well, that's right. And every story, as your people in the media here knows, where you sit with a family, it's heart-wrenching. When any member loses a family here, the same as around the world. So there are that family you mentioned pursuing legal action, but also others who are exploring that possibility of holding NATO responsible, because NATO and their commanders do not enjoy impunity. What they want people around the world, I think, for any sort of crime like this, and it is a crime of killing civilians, it's not excusable, however many collateral damage arguments we have with the kind of precision weaponry and the laser targeting. This is inexcusable. It's careless, it's negligent, it's criminal. So I suspect that there will be lawsuits and litigation filed against those responsible.
Dr. Lamb, I'm holding in my hand an article you've just posted from Tripoli entitled Countdown to Invasion. Is there really a feeling among the Libyans, particularly around the Tripoli area, that an invasion is imminent? And if so, by whom?
Well, yes, I would like to say that. We've gone to a lot of meetings and we've talked to a lot of people, and that's maybe the key topic now. And the argument goes like this. NATO cannot afford this loss. It was a mistake. Obama, whose election may be on the line, cannot afford a defeat. And the victory comes, like supposedly as in Saddam and Osama, you've got to kill the bad guy. So it looks to us like it's now a game of targeting the leadership. Otherwise, NATO loses. If NATO loses, the consequences are enormous. There's enormous trillion-dollar financial consequences for those members of the NATO countries who are seen as aggressors and invaders here. So the feeling is that they've got to do something. The only thing they can do, possibly, to achieve a victory is either assassinate Gaddafi and some of his circle. And to do that, they might have to come on the ground. Having said that, there's worry about this. I don't think there's a belief that it's going to happen. I think it would be a disaster, as colleagues are advising, the same way in Lebanon. As you know, I'm based in Lebanon. The only reason Israel hasn't invaded, they cannot afford the casualties and the price. We think the same thing is likely with NATO, that they cannot take the casualties or the world opinion that would result from a land invasion.
Let me just get from your experience the feeling there. If an invasion isn't imminent by NATO, what about, as we're hearing reports about rebels encircling and getting closer to Tripoli, what's the feeling among the civilian population there? And how are they preparing for this?
Yes, well, I spent last week visiting neighborhood committees. Think of them as neighborhood watch. Over 1 million have been armed. I've seen women, some as old as in their 60s and one woman in her 70s, training. I think we're going to see a popular militia, a popular army emerge from the neighborhoods if there's an invasion.
So therefore,
I am not competent to...
Can I quickly ask you then, if that's the case, do they not welcome those arms shipments coming in from foreign sources? They need those arms, don't they? Do they not welcome those reported arms deliveries?
I think I missed your question. I don't know what the rebels' view. The rebels' view is, I think that they want the arms shipments. Of course, the people here consider that a betrayal and a violation of UN Security Council Resolution 1973 that France and Qatar are supplying weapons. It exceeds the mandate, as you know, of that resolution. As far as the rebels advancing, I'm frankly ignorant of the degree to which they're doing that. The reports are that NATO will clear an area and usher them a few kilometers. NATO leaves, and then there's a struggle, and sometimes they get pushed back. But it is clear that NATO, from my point of view, that NATO has joined the side of promoting the rebels against the government. Again, a clear violation of 1973.
Dr. Franklin Lamb, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks very much indeed for joining us live there in Tripoli.